This is Holdfast Nations at War. We're here on Xbox Series X. Be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well. So this is a really interesting shooter game with lobbies of 150 players going off against one another, which is truly quite exciting and epic in terms of scale. Literal 75v75 players. There's proximity voice chat, so you can hear everybody yelling and interacting and doing stuff, which is kind of wild. It's also a very neat game from a fronts perspective. You get everything from the Napoleonic War to World War One, meaning there's actually like a wide range of different, I guess you would say, factions and options that you can enjoy as you go about battling. So you get everything from having like musket-based combat where you gotta slowly reload your muskets to the war machines in World War One, and you get the different powers and the different factions and the authenticity along the way, which is quite exciting if you're, into that kind of a thing. It's both like sort of arcadey and yet realistic and simulation-like at the same time, which is super quite awesome. We're going to join the squad here just so we have a little bit of a better kind of loading thing. So the game's neat because it's like, not only do you get on foot combat, but you also get to enjoy like boat-based combat too. So it's really neat. For instance, you can be on these maps where you are essentially like storming a beach and you're on these like war boats, or you might be fighting on islands and there's people on war boats, or you get on war boats too, and you're sort of basically, that was close. Oh, and then I got shot in the back. Oh, that sucks. You're basically like going on these boats, fighting each other, getting off these boats, and it's a whole thing. Like the naval warfare kind of element of it's really cool. And there is like a ridiculous amount of content here. So there's like 27 classes. I think there's something like over 70 maps. Like it's ridiculous. There's so many environments and locations that you can kind of visit and fight in, and it's really quite well done from that perspective. There's like content. There's so much stuff in this. It's just like a wealth of like ways to play in battle, and it's really quite exciting. And then there's different objectives that you're doing as far as like each round, a different level, different goal. Sometimes you're doing things that are like domination, or I guess more like conquest from Battlefield, and then sometimes there's like breakthrough mode. So you kind of get this like really cool mix of different kind of areas and play styles, which is really cool. And there's lots of different servers, so you can kind of like play from a more of a fun perspective, or something a little bit more serious or competitive, and the choice is really up to you and how you want to go about enjoying this. Like personally, I find the musket stuff like really entertaining and funny, but I can see how some people are kind of like, oh, it's like really slow, because like if you have the Napoleonic War and you got the musket, you shoot it and you got to sit there and actually like pack the bullet, pack the gunpowder, like you actually got to like make it work. But it's super cool because you shoot it, you'll see like a big puff cloud of smoke coming out, and that to me is like really exciting and cool that sort of a thing exists in this kind of a game, because that's not a war front that you like ever see represented in combat. And it's like World War One's kind of cool, and you get some neat weapons and tools, and it reminds me a little bit about like Verdun or Tannenberg a little bit gameplay wise, if you're familiar with those. And it does seem to be pretty lively too. There's lots of servers that are open and kicking with people, which is really exciting. So we've been on the quality mode, which is a 4K 30 FPS. I would recommend performance mode personally to enjoy the game. You can notice the increase in frame rate there as I get shot right in the back, as is deserved. So yeah, basically, you can have the 4K 30, which to me doesn't necessarily feel great for a shooter, or you go to performance mode and it's 1440p uncapped, so it can go up to like 120 FPS in theory at times. So just, be aware of that. Some maps and situations are a little bit more demanding for performance, and it really depends on, well, basically what sort of level of quality you want and whether you want the smoothness. But no, I would definitely say playing this at like a higher frame rate feels a lot better personally. But You know, you do you, and it's on quality mode by default, and I'm assuming that's just because it's more of like a perfect sort of level of performance, which is kind of neat. And whereas the performance mode here being uncapped, it goes like up and down. But I like games that have uncapped options because it just allows us to benefit in the long term. You know, like if this isn't like a perfectly smooth experience, you know, a console down the road could potentially take us higher, but yeah, it would have been good to have the full 4K with an uncapped option too, just, you know, in case, but whatever, it still looks pretty good. It's definitely like a little bit of a softer image, as to say, but I think it's still, you know, pretty nice looking. It still gets the gameplay action flowing and enjoyable, and you've got to be kidding me. Some people, they just, like, they move in such mysterious ways in this, you're, like, trying to shoot them, and you're like, really? I think it's kind of annoying, but, I love the style of it. Like, you know, it's kind of easy to die, but it's not too bad in terms of being like punished. Like if you're playing something like Hell Let Loose, for instance, that one, you know, you kind of like you get penalized really badly for dying and the spawning and the distance for spawning. Whereas this game, you know, you're getting these posts and listing these areas. You get to spawn pretty close and you come back pretty quick. Quite happy about that. No, but seriously, I think they nail the gameplay kind of like mechanics and the style of it and the way it flows. Despite there being 150 players, you know, in this match fighting each other, it doesn't necessarily feel as though anything is like awkward. Like it funnels its players effectively, it spawns them effectively, it allows you to move around the environment and not feel like there's too many people, but it also makes the game feel really filled. Like, it doesn't feel empty at any point. There's people doing their things, there's people fighting, but it feels great to play. I think I shot that guy like twice and I didn't get the kill. It drives me crazy. And it feels like kind of authentic, and I would say like the level of quality as far as like the different classes and their weapons and their aesthetics and stuff is very, very well done. You really do get to enjoy something that looks proper. This guy's kind of annoying. Like, most people don't play like that, but no, it's a neat strategy, I guess, to jump around like that, because it makes it hard to shoot, but kind of annoying. And there's full crossplay, which, I mean, is kind of important for being able to get enough players. And you can have console keyboard mouse support, too. So you can play this with the, you know, keyboard mouse if you'd like to on the console. Kind of a nice touch. Especially if you are, you know, playing against PC players and everything like that. Yeah, I think it definitely helps a bit. I would say, as far as like handling gameplay. But I really like what they got going on here. It's a neat selection. You're very easily able to choose, like, I want to play, you know, I want to play World War I. That option is there. You want to do Napoleonic, you can join that. I know a lot of people find the Napoleonic stuff a little bit more boring, which is a bit of a shame, because, you know, when I was streaming and playing this, I was just like, I think it's so cool, because I literally cannot think of, as far as like consoles go, I guess, I can't think of any other games that actually cover, you know, that war front. I find that to just be such a, like, a breath of fresh air to actually have, like, a different type of gameplay experience. Now, like, World War I, not overly common, but definitely something where it's like there are a number of World War I games. So it's like, it's just neat that this game has a range of eras instead of just having to play specifically like this one time. And then, yeah, all the game modes on top of that is really cool. And this game is just, as I said, it's jam-packed with content and entertainment for this one. Like, you get so many different places, so many different conflicts. And then all the different modes are really, really quite fun too, and geared towards different things. Like, it's very cool when you're, say, defending an objective, and you sort of get bombarded by, like, artillery. There's like 20 bodies that go flying up in the air, and it's just got like a sort of wacky but fun gameplay style and edge to it. I think they really did a good job, like, building this. And then here on the console, it's still got like maybe like a little bit of PC wonkiness and heart to it, but it's just like a pretty well put together experience. I think you can have fair bit of fun playing and enjoying and battling on, because yeah, it gets pretty crazy, right? Like just seeing all of these guys everywhere battling, and it's like, I think it looks nice too. Like honestly, I kind of like the visual aesthetic of this game. It may not be on like necessarily the cutting edge of visuals, but I think it comes across pretty good. It looks nice and authentic, and it's definitely got like a bit of a charm, even with its stilted combat to a degree or something like that as far as shooting. But it feels like it kind of nails the era and the style they were going for pretty well. And then yeah, you get all these different class setups, and it's kind of cool because like we're mostly doing rifles, but that's because it's, you know, World War I, and like if you're in the Napoleonic era, you'd like, it's a little easier to pick a class where you've got a musket and a sword, so you can pull up the sword. But sword play in this could be a little less wonky for sure. It's a little awkward. Like it gets the job done. You've got like a directional attacking wheel, which I think, yeah, we can kind of pull off here, and you can just get an idea of it. And it's just like a directional wheel that allows you to like kind of stab in different ways, but it's a little awkward switching between the two modes. Like sometimes I'll be in like a melee mode and I won't really realize it, and I'll be trying to shoot, and I'll just be like, oh, and then you get killed. And yeah, it's a problem. But you can play, you know, the whole thing first or third, which is obviously, you know, switching between them, and I guess we'll jump into the next match. So I thought it would be neat to show off the other side of the conflict, which is like the older Napoleonic era of battle, which again I find utterly fascinating. You see the big clouds of smoke from the muskets firing, and you just get different scenes and setups and different factions. As I mentioned, this game has many different, you know, sort of conflicting factions at war, and different like countries fighting depending on what time you're fighting in, and it's so neat. And you can also play like less traditional roles in this game too. So you can be, for instance, oh, I want to be a drummer or somebody that plays the flute, and those are like literal options that you can do in this game, is to play an instrument or something and be a part of the conflict in that way. But yeah, it's super neat. Like I've been genuinely having quite a bit of fun playing this, and a bit of like laughs playing it too, because it's weird. Like it's a serious game. Like this is, you know, kind of how the combat was done, and we're like sitting here, I'm slowly like loading in everything, and we're standing around and we're shooting at each other trying to get the kills, but at the same time it's kind of like funny and hilarious and easygoing. And I think they do a really good job of mixing up how the combat and the gameplay works, and they have just such a creative and vast selection of levels. I really am blown away by how much content this game actually has. That's what I was kind of really hoping to get across while talking about this game the whole time. Is like, there's just dozens upon dozens of maps like this. You know, you play a lot of modern shooter games, and you know, something like, say, Battlefield, and it's like, yeah, there's like several maps or something like that, and they're large and they're varied, and it works, but yeah, the amount of variation here, like I could just, you know, I've been streaming this and playing a fair bit of it, and I'm still just constantly coming across new levels and environments that I haven't seen prior, with different levels of, like, say, weathering or something going on, and it's just neat. Like in time of day too, there's like some night kind of levels and stuff, and it's just very majestic, and you just get that like great sense of, oh, you know, this level is like this or that one's like that. It's super cool, and there just seems to be so much of it. And like I said, I like the look of this game. I actually think it's quite visually appealing to me, but you know, it definitely has like a bit of an older vibe too, which is kind of neat. I think it works quite well, and there's like little bits of destruction or something like when something goes on, and it's also very funny again with the muskets, how they are, like I said, kind of authentic, but like it's not really easy to hit people with your shots, if that makes sense. Like, you get what I'm talking about, where it's kind of like, even if you necessarily like aim and you're close, it doesn't mean you're really gonna like hit your target, because a musket is like such a ineffective kind of weapon, if that makes sense. Like, even back in the day, it wasn't, you know, wasn't anything like that, so I thought we were gonna do like a little sword battle, but I guess not. Ugh. it's kind of wild. Like, it's hilarious. That's what I was saying. Like the melee combat could be definitely better in this one. That would be like, say, a complaint thing. It would be like could be a lot smoother for that. But I think it fits into the awkward kind of gameplay where it's a little bit cumbersome on purpose, because that's like the styling of using these weapons and tools. Like this, you know, it was becoming more of an effective way to like kill people, right? It was using guns, like guns obviously, like swords and stuff were always a thing, and then guns were emerging. It's like, oh yeah, and then, you know, but they're not like the weapons that we started getting like World War II and onwards, and you can definitely see that. I mean, like even World War I, you can see the difference between World War I and this game as far as like the weaponry you have, and then it just completely kept snowballing to more and more effective killing weapons. But even nowadays, I'd actually think we're almost plateauing. It's like, yeah, we're coming up with new, more powerful weapons or whatever, but the variations of the guns are like kind of being pretty streamlined over the last however many decades, for sure, which is kind of funny. But you know, if you got a good weapon that does damage and you can use it, it's like, yeah, you keep using it. But it's just so neat doing this, and like the funniness of sitting here slowly reloading my weapon. I can definitely see how some people might not be fully into this concept, but I'm just mostly against saying, like, can you literally think of any other games, at least from a console perspective, I would say, that are actually doing this type of thing? The French are victorious, on to the next level. The battle wages on. See, we got like a little bit of a different setup here. See, isn't this just so creative and different? Every map is just like so wildly unique too. And if they want, and I'm sure, you know, they keep updating and supporting this game, they could just theoretically just endlessly keep adding maps and stuff. It's so neat. It's one of those games you just really want to like cheer on as being something so different. Like, we have so many shooter games, but not really shooters doing this time period, doing this type of conflict, having this many maps. It's just wild. Like, I love it. Like, you've probably been seeing throughout the video too, where it's like, yeah, there's 150 players, it feels full. It feels like the combat's going on, but it doesn't ever feel like, oh, we're not like progressing, or we're not, you know, there's stuff not happening, because there's so much. And it's really neat how well spaced everything is, despite there being so many players. And I kind of just wonder for, like, you know, Battlefield there, when they capped up the numbers to like, was it 128 or something, and they're like, oh, it just doesn't work with our gameplay. And it's like, no, the issue is you guys, not like, you know, the development of the game, not like how the gameplay functions and stuff. It was just like, clearly you can have large scale multiplayer like this and it works absolutely fine, and it's fun and cool and majestically insane. Like, look at that, we just totally took this spot and there's all these guys everywhere, and it feels really lively and full, but it doesn't feel overstuffed. It kind of progresses like a war probably should have. I mean, I think back in this day, people were more sort of standing there kind of firing at each other, but yeah, it's a game too, right? And it's just neat to highlight this mode, because, you know, it's kind of awesome. And yeah, you could literally just play World War I if you want. There's different servers. You know, you get to choose. Like, do you want to play World War I? Do you want to play this era? You know, you get to pick what you like, and then it's just never-ending rotating lobbies of conflict and excitement based on, you know, the choices of the lobby as it continues to evolve. And I think they've absolutely got something quite fun and quite engaging and gold here, because I've actually just been having a great time with it. And I know the musket era isn't as necessarily thrilling for everyone as I keep saying, but I don't know, it's kind of funny and entertaining to me, being like, oh no, reload, and it takes so long, and you're just like, oh, this isn't gonna go well for me. And, you know, other people too getting at a gunfight, kind of shooting the muskets and being like, it doesn't work on their end, doesn't work on my end, and then eventually it works for someone and they get the kill. And it's interesting and just absolutely chaotic. I love what they've put together here, and yeah, the sounds, the atmosphere, the craziness of it all. It's a blast. So cool.